Hi guys, this is Raquel with paintsandglitter.com, and I'm coming to you today with a quick little video of a project share, and I guess you would call it a haul also, just because I wanted to share what my new favorite thing is, and that is the Gorgeous Girl stamps, which I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with. I happened on these stamps by accident, I guess you could say. I just saw someone use one of them and I thought it was really pretty. And I started looking into them, and next thing I know, I am now collecting them because I just think they're adorable. So I've shown a couple of cards that I've made using some of these stamps. I made one that I shared using this one here, which is, it's called, let's see, The Runaway. Then I made a project using this one called Dear Alice. I made a card with this one called, let's see, On Top of the World. It's just, they're beautiful. The images are just gorgeous. I've also used that one. This one's the Hatter. And this little one here called You Brought Me Love. And they're just, they kind of have their own little personalities, I think. And I just find them to be completely just adorable. So that's one. These are a series. These are older releases, and I just wanted to show you the new release. And then I want to show you what I've made just for today. This is the new release for this summer, 2017, and this one's called Summer Days. And I mean, how adorable is that? It's just so sweet. They each have between 6 to 8 pieces. Some of them have even more as far, and when I say pieces, I mean stamps. And I'm sorry for the glare here. I want to make sure you guys can see it. This one's just, they're just adorable. Every time I see one, I go, oh my gosh, it's so cute. So I'm sorry, I moved the camera a little bit there. There's that one. This one's got 12 stamps, and some of them are just little butterflies and that sort of thing. And the great thing is that they're also interchangeable. So if you see an image that you prefer, of course, then you can just use it as you wish. I mean, look at this. Mermaids are all the rage right now, so I think that might be my next one to work on. And then there's this little girl with her balloon. And so anyway, these little stamps have just captured my heart. And I've been playing around. What I like to do is use different mediums, of course, but my favorites to use with stamps are watercolors and Prismacolor pencils. So what I'll do is I'll stamp it like this, you know, on, I'll use watercolor paper, and then what I do is that I start playing around with the different mediums, whether it be I think this may be actually Distress inks on the bottom, but I start fiddling around with the Distress inks. I always put a wash on the skin, or the parts that would be skin color. I always do a wash with watercolor because I just think that gives it a nice, pretty, just a realistic but still whimsical look to it. And then what I do is for the details, anything that I really want to deepen in color, I go ahead and start playing around with the, whether it be the Distress inks, Oxide inks, or Prismacolor pencils or Derwent pencils. So just a little bit of everything. That's the fun part for me. So I went ahead and stamped that image, and I decided to make a really girly card. This is the envelope, and what I did was I used my Cricut Explore Air to cut out the envelope. And I went ahead and cut out this little tag, and I just stamped it there with, this is a Stampin' Up stamp, and it just says thinking of you. I added a little ribbon, and then this here, and I'm sorry for the camera, it ended up scoring for some reason right there in the middle, and I'm not sure why. This is from Tags, Bags, Boxes, and More edition 2, but that's, if you look that up on Cricut Design Space, for some reason there's a score line there in the middle. If anyone can tell me why, I'd welcome any feedback. But anyway, this is what I did, was I ended up just covering the score lines with washi tape, and then to finish it off I went ahead and put that little tag there. But this is the envelope, and what I liked about it is if you see here, it had enough thickness that I could fit the card in, because what I did was I decided to make it a pretty thick card with lots of layers, and I'll show you what I used. So here's my card, and I had a lot of fun making this. It opens like this, so you see the inside. It's very lacy, very girly, and then it's an easel card, so it stands like that. So I think I'm going to move the camera so I can show you guys what I used and a little bit closer look here. So what I did was I went ahead and like I said, I colored the image in using different mediums, the pencils and all of that. And then here for the highlight, what I did was that when I was coloring it in, I went ahead and left that blank, so to speak, so that way it would look like there was a highlight there on her legs, which I thought was a more prominent part of the image there. And then I also used, let's see here, I used Pebbles chalks over her hair when I was done coloring, just to give it a little bit of shimmer. And then on the background, what I did was I took a piece of paper and I used oxide inks, which I went ahead and splattered all over that paper. And this is also watercolor paper. I splattered the oxide inks and let it just soak in with the different pinks and blues and greens. Then what I did was that I used a die that I recently received, and I can't find it, but it's Tim Holtz die that cuts out like this. And I'm sorry that I don't think I have that out so that you can see what it looks like, but I might, oh actually here it is, I'll show you in just a second, so that way you know what I'm talking about. And here we go. This one, it cut, and the reason why I wanted to show the die was so that you can see that it cuts these little strips, but it doesn't cut out the border. Okay, so I used that one, and then when I looked at the paper, I thought, gee, that, you know, that looks like a puddle. So, and this just all happened spontaneously. I didn't plan the card. So what I did was I put a darker green piece of cardstock behind it, and then I put glossy accents on the paper, and it looked like a little puddle of water, like she's just sitting there, and you know, she's outside and maybe it just rained, I don't know. And then behind her here, this wreath I cut out with my Cricut Explore using Design Space, and that's actually just a wreath image. I used the print and cut for the background, and the wreath actually cut out in white, and then I went ahead and inked that also with Distress inks, and then I inked the leaves that are stuck on there on the top, layered on top, I should say. I went ahead and inked those with Distress inks, and then I also used my bone folder to or not my bone folder, I used these tools, scoring tools, and I'll show you what that looks like. So these are made by McGill, and they look like that, and you can use them for lots of different things. I make flowers with those, and then I also use them to score paper. But anyway, I scored the little leaves, and then I went over the score lines with a glimmer pen. I added these little flowers from Martha Stewart. This heart also is a die, and that one looks like this. That's this one. So I went ahead and put glossy accents and glitter on that after I inked it up with oxide inks, and then I used stickles all over that to just add some little accents there. And then these little hearts that you see are actually cut out of this border, and this is a die that I just got. It's an unbranded die, and it's, I think, my new favorite. it just cuts out so beautifully, and I love all the little swirls and details there. So what I did was I added little pearls to some of those little flowers. I added ribbon behind that, behind the paper here, and just to give it texture and dimension, and it's all backed up with cardstock. And then here at the bottom I added seam binding in a color that, you know, matched everything else. And then I did this little bit here with another little unbranded die that I got from AliExpress that makes bows, and I added an antique button. And then this die back here cuts out the little leaf with the miniature butterflies, and I just layered those and added little pearl accents to the center with Ranger liquid pearls. And then this is just a piece of a doily. I try to use the leftovers just for little things like that. And then this was another die that I used that cuts out a series of like flowers, and I just cut one of them off and use it as the background there. So that's the front of my card, and like I said, it's an easel card. On the inside, what I did was I used another die to cut out a doily in a lighter blue, and then I had this. I've been trying to use items, whoops, and that dragonfly doesn't seem to want to stick to anything, so I'm gonna have to fix that. So anyway, that is an old little acetate piece that's a dragonfly, so I'll put that back on there. And then more of that lace, and then I used a piece of a lighter blue cardstock that I distressed. And then this here is actually another die that I recently received, and this is just an unbranded die that I got from AliExpress, and it looks like this. And I really like this collection because it came with 4, so this would have been in the outer piece, and then this one, which both of them used together allowed me to cut this piece out, just so you know. And then it comes with 2 more in case you're interested in knowing. So those look like this, and I haven't even used these yet, so but they're so pretty. And what I like about them is, if you can see there, the border, it actually has all those little details, those little dots. So anyway, so that's what I used here. And then I used a stamp that says, "I don't know the question, but love is definitely the answer." And what I did was I stamped that in brown so that it would match her hair, so that if the card is open, which is kind of hard to see here, but let me move this back. So if the card is open, then the colors all match, instead of using a stark black ink on that. This I punched the border out with an older paper punch that I showed in another video, but that's from Anna Griffin. And I just found this in my stash. I was kind of reorganizing things and or just rearranging them really, and found that. So that's what I used there. And then this border here was a different die that I just got also, and that one looks like this, and it's part of a set, and I just thought it was so pretty that I went ahead and used it there to complete that. And then this was just a little I forget what those are called, but it's not a magnet, it's a flare, that's what it's called. So yeah, so that completes my card, and it was a lot of fun to make, even though I was a little bit frustrated initially because I didn't know what was going to come about it, because I wanted to use the image and I wasn't quite sure how to, you know, complete it, but it just kind of just fell together, and I'm really happy with it. I hope you like it as well. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, or if you have any questions about any other stamps or creations. This, of course, is now available for purchase, and I'm on Instagram, I'm sorry, as well as online at my blog at www.paintsandglitter.com. And I thank you so much for watching. and subscribing to my channel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.